Hey everyone, welcome back to the HeelCast on TNAsylum.net. I'm TNA Dude, and I'm back! Yeah, that's right. That no good, worthless fool Raven effect screwed me over last week. Well, I'm in charge this week, and I'm gonna get even with that Grado-loving, Shara-dancing, Al Snow wannabe. Okay, well, I guess I better get the rest of the HeelCast on the line. Let's see. I'll try Wake Chambers. Hang tight while I call him in.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
He's on a sabbatical. Crud. Let me try numero 47. Great. No answer. Probably nailing another knockout. No problem. I'll try Griggers. Hey, Griggs. Can you join the show tonight? No. You're going to the ballet with your wife? You gotta be kidding me. Man, that dude's whipped. Now what am I gonna do? Oh, I got it. I'll call my good buddy FK9. Oh, wait. He's just gonna try and push those damn sweater vests the whole show. I'm not sure I can deal with much more of that shit. I might need to go solo this week. Well, looky here. Guess who's dialing old TNA Dude now? Well, it's the freaking Shockmaster of TNA podcasts himself, Mr. Raven Effect. Shockmaster, I got a bone to pick with you. You muted me, cut me out, and left me high and dry. What have you to say for yourself?
What I have to say is, this is like Kevin Sullivan Overlord. I get called the Shockmaster. I buy the guy's Casey commentary, history of WCW this week. Hasn't been relevant in years. Pops up on ROH Saturday, and I'm getting Kevin Sullivan fucking comments. Come on now. And, I want, what I have to say for myself is, why did I have to call you again? I think you were trying to leave me out. I would never in my life do anything along those lines.
I would never leave you out.
You saw the proof in the pudding.
I was there. You could even hear me on the podcast.
No, lies. You dubbed that in. You were editing this week, too. You're full of shit. Obviously, you had audio problems. I would never. I had something in my eye when I was dialing. Plenty of stuff.
Yeah, you had something in something, all right, but it wasn't your eye. When I see it's going to be there again. Mm-hmm. Well, look, folks, we got a show to do, so I guess that Raven Effect and TNA Dude are just going to have to learn to get along for the next hour or so. We'll do our best to plug through it. Speaking of plugs, we might as well get to our normal plugs. First of all, folks, just want to remind you, we have 20% off at ProWrestlingTees.com through July the 4th. Get your favorite pro wrestling t-shirts. My personal recommendation, none other than the EC3 and Spud Friendship shirt.
Yeah, that's a personal favorite of mine, too. The best thing about this for me is that 20% off through July 4th. I get birthday money this weekend, so guess where that's going? I got to get my Aiden O'Shea in. I got to get my DK shirts. My Steve, my Rosemary, of course, my man EC3, my favorite. They got Raven shirts, Demolition, tag team. That actually the reason I decided at 4 or 5 years old I got to watch WWF and pro wrestling was because Demolition was on there. They have some really cool shirts, including a sweet dummy. Yeah. So check them out. 20% off, guys.
Yeah, dummy, yeah, would be a good shirt for you, Raven Effect.
It would.
Let's not forget TNAsylum.net. We have a new edition of Straight Shooting with FK9, folks. Join the live show. It's a lot of fun interacting with FK9. Let's not forget hashtag Revive the X Division, as well as the Aiden O'Shea petition that we're running. And of course, you can find us not just on TNAsylum.net, but on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud as well. Now, it's a big week for content across the site. TN Asylum has new guest columns, Moving Again by Captain Scarlet, talking about maybe potentially switching the date and time of Impact. Building Houses on Sand, the TNA Story by Mr. Shoes, and TNA Wrestlers Making a First Impression by Louis Mitchie. And of course, unfortunately, we have the newest installment of Nevermore. Nevermore.
You say unfortunately because you read that and you say, damn, if only TNA were doing what you're reading in this columns, it would be so much better and they would be kicking WWE's ass in the ratings.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Nothing to do with my vendetta against you for last week.
Not once.
Nothing.
Check out my new column, though, folks. Like I said, it's been a long time. It is way behind. It's Impact, May 17th through the 31st. I would have sworn 2 hours after I submitted that to Talon that I would have my Slammiversary Go Home show and my Slammiversary Fantasy column out. Don't have it. Still working on it. Still hoping to work on it, but it will be out soon. But check it out. You see a suggestion in there that I've used that was given to me by Numero 47. You see me, I put not only am I making slow changes to make a new complete alternative product, I'm using the entire roster, and also I give the knockouts the main spotlight that they deserve. You see that main event, one of these shows in a big time match. So check it out. Please provide me feedback on TNAsylum.net, on Twitter. Get it to Dixie, get it to Gaburik, help me out, get it to Lagana. But definitely, just feedback. I don't care if it's bad, just let me know. I just want to know your opinions. Thank you for anyone who reads.
And of course, there's our featured comment of the week, coming from my good buddy, the Count of Incognito himself, who asked me, do you guys offer express shipping on those FK9 sweater vests? I'd prefer to support Fool Killer over Vanderbeek, but I don't want to wait for my life to be over before I can start giving Numero a run for his money in the fashion department. And he also said, Al Snow and I are Eskimo Brothers. Small world. Of course, we have the TNA tweet of the week. Broken Matt Hardy saying, delete every hashtag Brother Nero, regardless of their gender, or they will delete you forever. So, Raven, did you check out the sound off this week, buddy?
I did. Before the sound off, though, I mean, let's just clarify. I don't know how many people out there do or don't know what an Eskimo brother is, but Eskimo brother is a brother from another mother who at one time or another was under the same covers as you. It's like two kickers making the same field goal. It's like ice fishing in the same hole.
So
Eskimo
it's like
brothers.
It's a brother from another mother, which means the same father, right? Or a different father.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, technically, you know, my Eskimo family tree is kind of big. It's kind of like, you know, me and Brooke Tessmacher's fiance or whatever, we're Eskimo brothers because of something that's happened. Me and Al Snow and Count, we're all Eskimo brothers because of Mrs. Chambers that we've all met at one point in our life, you know.
So are you trying to say that Brooke Tessmacher's fiance or husband was with my sister at one point?
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, I've got Eskimo sisters too, I'll tell you that. And you know, that guy West, I'm pretty sure Don West is the father of Brooke Tessmacher's baby. So I mean, me, Don West, Rosemary, we're all one big Eskimo family.
Lucky sumbitch.
You know, you could have gotten with your sister too, but you know, you just don't live in the state of West Virginia.
You don't ever know.
I don't think anyone who's ever listened to this show is from West Virginia. Just saying. I also don't think anyone who's ever listened to this show actually should have the right to vote, but you know.
Yeah, we're been on the show for that fact.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, now that we're going to the sound off, I just had to clarify the Eskimo brother thing and, you know, Count Now Stone Banged Wake's mom. So for the sound off, we asked HeelCast Nation, all you HeelCasters, all you HeelCast hotties, how you felt about Mike Bennett becoming the X Division champion, and you guys did a whole lot better than last week. Thank you. I pushed and prodded, but thank you for coming out and doing it. We'll start with TNAsylum.net. We have Andrew Paul. Andrew says, I'm okay with Bennett being champ, just not at this time. Like Minnie, I hate that TNA devalues the title by hot potato and before Destination X because of a title shot. John says, I don't like the decision of Bennett winning the X Division title simply because because of the fact, just like Abyss, when he won it, he's not an X Division wrestler. He cannot wrestle the style. John goes on to say, this will hurt the division, and it makes it look like TNA is trying their hardest to make the division even less special. With Bennett winning the X Division title, there are really no differences between the singles titles in TNA since anyone can win the X Division title, apparently. I strongly agree with that statement, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show, but John, absolutely correct there. My good buddy, the chairman, all multiple personalities of the chairman, says the issue with Bennett being X Division champion is that he doesn't give a damn about the belt, so it's just a stepping stone. The X Division has been an afterthought at most. The last truly good memorable reign was Aries 4 or 5 years ago. Now they are just curtain jerkers to open the pay-per-view or a random forgettable 3-minute match on Impact. So his issue with Bennett being champ is the overall treatment of the X Division. It only matters for 3 weeks, one time of the year, and the guy who won it has told the audience he doesn't care about the belt. It's just a stepping stone, so why should we? Our other regular 1%, he says he hates the fact Mike Bennett is X Division champion. Why does he hate it? It's pretty obvious because Mike Bennett is not an X Division wrestler, period. DDG chimes in, he says, I agree with pretty much everyone, it's stupid. I like Bennett, but he's not an X Division wrestler, and he shouldn't even need option C to get into a world title feud. I also feel bad for Eddie and the entire X Division. My main man, the Count, says, I can't properly comment on Bennett's winning of the X Division title due to the language filter on this site. I know what it's like with language filters, buddy. I know what it's like.
Ouch.
Right?
Ouch.
I was talking TNAsylum and my foul mouth, but yeah, take that, TNA Dude. Editing son of a bitch. So Twitter, we get Joseph Napolitano, who says the win itself is more of a prop in the ongoing Dixie Maria issue. They have much bigger plans for him. Joseph goes on to say he would like to see Mike do weekly open challenges and beat local skinny jobbers for a few weeks. After a few weeks, Dixie comes out with a surprise opponent from his past to accept the open challenge, who would be Roderick Strong, who beats him for the gold. Sounds pretty awesome. Wishful thinking. Megan Welton says, absolutely devastated for poor Eddie, and she never liked the miracle. My homegirl Nick says that she does not think he deserves it, and thinks Eddie Edwards should have been the champ a lot longer. Hard to disagree with Eddie being the champ for a lot longer. And, of course, the Cine Doll says that Bennett is an amazing wrestler. I'm not taking that away from him. Just the fact that TNA took the title off of Edwards, who better represents the X Division, and gave it to someone who doesn't fit into the X Division at all. I'm just baffled. She goes on to say, let's be honest, the X Division is what made TNA what it is. It hardly gets any airtime, which is freaking ridiculous. Right now, there is one X Division wrestler that reminds me of what the X Division was back when it first started, which is Andrew Everett. I would love to see the title on him. He could take the division to new heights. I'm so proud. That is my valet. And then we go to YouTube. My main man, Danish, says, I like Mike Bennett, but the way they're treating their X Division is just insulting to the wrestlers who helped build the company, and also to the people who started watching because of the X Division and have still stuck around. Amen. They're continuing to ignore their audience and alienate them with stuff like this, in my opinion. Amen times 2. And my buddy BQ over at King of the Mountain Radio says the Bennett win almost made him cry.
Yeah, it almost made me cry too. That killed me. Eddie Edwards deserved a lot better than to job out almost immediately. So we've got some news this week. Not a lot, but we do have some news. And in the news this week is Josh Matthews. Josh Matthews has announced he has his own radio show with ESPN Radio. Josh Matthews' show will premiere on 102.5 The Game in Nashville on Saturday, July 16th from 8 to 9 CST. The show will feature 30 minutes of wrestling talk and 30 minutes of sports and pop culture. So, you know what, Josh? Good for you. It's good to see you branching out and doing other things.
You know, I just got to say this real fast, and I'm sorry. This could be huge in a way. I mean, if this was national ESPN radio and not just regional, local, and Nashville, probably where they're going to be like the second biggest they could be, it would be pretty big and awesome for TNA. But it's just regional, so it's Nashville, which literally, you know what this means to me? Is that not only does Josh dull down and make my beloved Impact Wrestling unexciting, now, and this is blasphemy to me, this is death to me. Now he's going to take our only Heisman winning quarterback, Marcus Mariota, and make the man himself boring and dull Mariota down. Josh, get some goddamn excitement when you go to ESPN Radio. Do not do this to Marcus Mariota. Go Ducks.
Oh, how could we get through a podcast without a Ducks reference? Okay, so Raven, speaking of references, I understand that both Roderick Strong and Moose are free agents. We've already heard, some people talking about Roderick Strong, a little bit of content on that already this podcast. To me, they seem like good fits for TNA, and vice versa. It seems like TNA might be a good fit for both of those. So let's start with Roddy. Why do you think that Roddy is a good fit for TNA?
So, I mean, to break this down two ways, and we'll start, let's say I'm Roderick Strong, why TNA is the best fit for me over NXT, because basically that's where it's going to come down to. Roderick, look at NXT. Seriously, you will be lost in the shuffle. There is so much. They are literally signing any and everyone that they can. And I hate to say this. I really, really, really hate saying this. Okay? Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards went to NXT, and dumbass Triple H legitimately said, we can find a Davey Richards and an Eddie Edwards anywhere. That there's a Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards all over the place. I'm sorry. No, there isn't. Davey Richards is legitimately like the best technical wrestler to come out in 10, 15 years. I don't care, you throw your New Japan at me all you want. Davey Richards is the best technical wrestler breathing today. This is just Roderick. It's the same path for you. Roderick can go to NXT and you can get lost in the struggle because they're bringing anyone in. And the truth of the matter is you can go do this NXT thing in 2 years if you want to anyways. Come to TNA for 2 years. You're going to be a top guy on the roster. There's competition there. TNA actually gives these people, like if Roderick Strong, if the knack on him is that he's too vanilla and whatnot, you can prove that in TNA. You cannot go to NXT or WWE and prove that because someone's writing stuff for you. Look at what happened to Mike Bennett. Look at what TNA is able to do. Look at Ethan Carter. EC3 couldn't do his thing in WWE. They cut him because you have someone who doesn't know really the character or not fitting. They're writing lines for this guy and he fails. He comes to TNA and he's the biggest superstar in wrestling. He really would be. If the audience was bigger, he'd be the biggest household name in the industry. Roderick, you can get your shot in TNA. You can. Absolutely. You can go there if you want mic time, if you have stuff to prove that you are a star. This is the only place you can do it. And you can come in and you can do something big. You'll be the top of the card. You can legitimately walk in and single-handedly change the X Division overnight. And other than just changing the X Division overnight, you can go to the mid card. There's a King of the Mountain. Who doesn't want to see you and Davey on a bigger stage? Who doesn't want to see you and Eddie on a bigger stage? The X Division guys, the Eli Drakes, the EC3s, the Lashleys. There's a lot of guys that you could have good stuff with. Roderick Strong and Drew Galloway, sign me up for that twice.
I think Roderick Strong could be a good fit for TNA as well. I think that Roderick Strong is a guy who is very good in the ring. I think he's a very strong X Division style wrestler. And he's a very technical wrestler. I think that him and Davey Richards could just go for 20 or 30 minutes and really put on a great fight. I think what TNA will give him that he won't get elsewhere is really the strong character side. I think that he will get lost in Next. I agree with you completely that he's going to get lost there because they're just going to use him as that cult indie wrestler guy, and I don't think he's ever going to get called up to the main roster. And if that's the case, he'll do much better in TNA, and he'll make more money in TNA. I think that that TNA is a good fit for him that way, and I think he's a good fit for TNA as well. I think that he'll bring in some ROH fans, as I think Moose will as well. When I look at Moose is a guy that on the surface seems to be a little on the rough side. But let's face it, Moose is a monster. He's a guy that when he stands in the ring and he stands upright and Lashley stands upright, you actually think that Moose has a chance at beating Bobby Lashley. There's very few guys that you feel that way about. You feel that way about Drew Galloway. Of course, Drew Galloway hasn't beaten Lashley. Not recently, for sure. And you think, maybe EC3 as well, but EC3 is still dwarfed by the muscles of Lashley. Moose, being as large as he is, doesn't have that problem. Moose is also somebody that can go very well against Drew Galloway because Moose is also a very big, very tall guy. And Moose can do a lot of the same high-flying moves that Galloway can. If you put those two in the ring together, it would be absolutely fantastic match. I think Moose still has some growing to do, but I think if there's one thing Gaburik has done well, one thing that he's really shined at since he's been with TNA, that's developing actual characters. And that's what Moose really needs. Moose, you could choose to go to WWE. You may or may not get called up to the main roster. You're a big guy. You got a lot of growth in you. At the same point in time, you also could wind up stuck in NXT forever because if you don't show that it factor that Vincent K. McMahon needs to see, you'll be stuck there and you'll be out. You go to TNA, you could always leave and go over to WWE. That's something that's been happening a lot. So in my opinion, if I was Moose, I would also want to go to TNA.
To go on the other side real fast is, if let's say I'm TNA, let's say I'm John Gaburik, let's say I'm Dixie, I'm Corgan. Okay, let's go back to TNA's early days, which in my opinion, as much as the characters and stuff in this day and age in TNA are better and much improved than some of the stuff that we got to see back then, this TNA just does not even compare to what we got in the old TNA. And these are reasons why, other than the X Division, is that TNA used to be this company that was loaded and stacked with this deep roster that was incredible. And they had met so many guys and gals on that roster that could go out with literally almost anyone and have a great to good match with anyone there. Now, I don't know that there are 5 people in the TNA roster that can do that, and I do not like to say that, but it is the honest to God truth. Where TNA now that they used to do so well is who is out here scouting talent, who is out there going out and finding these best talents, and if they can find them, can they get them? Can they sign them? Roderick Strong is a guy, if I'm TNA, I'm bringing in a guy who can have a good to great match with literally anyone on this roster. That is something TNA needs so bad because it's what used to make TNA so great. When Vince Russo used to put just some of the worst stuff on the air, storyline wise at times, because there were spurts where TNA was so good, and then there were spurts where TNA was so damn bad, and it all had to do with creative. Other than Jarrett hogging the belt, the only thing that used to make TNA so damn good was the wrestling itself, and that's what Roderick Strong brings. As far as Moose, a lot of people want to be down on Moose, and I don't get it. I don't. This is a big, jacked up dude, and for his size, with his muscle, for all that, man, this guy is very talented and very agile. And the thing about this too is that Moose is legit. Like, this guy is a legitimate NFL player. Like, you see a lot of football players that go and become big in pro wrestling and stuff like that, those guys literally had no NFL career. If there is names in the NFL and college football that I do not recognize, there's not a lot. Like, I study this shit like basically like it's my entire life. Moose is a guy I know from the NFL. Like, he is a good, legitimate NFL player for a while there. He's legit. He brings some legitimacy. And you talk about him and Lashley, like, hell yeah. Like, this is a big dude.
All right, so we did have Impact this week, and the show kicks off with my buddy Mike Bennett, along with his absolutely gorgeous wife, Maria, doing a promo. And they eventually get joined by Lashley and EC3. Raven, there were a lot of promos in this particular show, and we had a lot of talking, and this was a very long segment. What did you think about this particular segment?
Yeah, this was the Impact, last week was something I said that they really needed to do more of, which was just let the matches go out and develop and tell a story. And the matches finally got proper time, and this week was the complete opposite, and kind of the frustration that we had. It was a good segment. How's it not going to be? You have Bennett, you have EC3, you have Lashley. Lashley's improving. EC3, we know how great he is. We know how great Bennett is. I at least like the fact that they're hyping Destination X, although, it's Bennett just becoming the X Division champion to hype it. I like Bennett, the two heels and stuff I talk about. Like, it's good to see the two heels go at it. I think, like, don't shy away from this kind of stuff, because it's rare that they allow it to happen. So I like that Bennett didn't back down from Lashley. Like, he's right in his face and, tells him he's the big dog in the yard and stuff like that. So I liked that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I thought it was a good way to build up the world title. I did think it was a little too long, though. I thought that they did a little bit too much in this particular segments. But one thing I will say about this segment is that it showed that these are the guys that are going to be battling for the world title over the next several months, right? They've already got Drew Galloway, the former champion, and Bobby Lashley, the current champion, that are kind of been feuding. They brought EC3 into the mix, and now they're finding a way to bring Mike Bennett in there as well. And what this is going to allow them to do is to mix and match. They can have Bennett going against Lashley. They can have EC3 going against Galloway, right? And that's face-face and heel-heel. They also can do some other things as well, like having Bennett and Galloway, or EC3 and Bennett. So they've got a lot of different options here as well. So I really thought that it built it, but I thought that it was a little too long.
Yeah, it was a little too long for sure. I'm not going to argue that by any means, but one thing I do want to point out that I like that TNA is doing a lot is that they're, like, Pop TV, I don't know, I've seen, like, when I record Impact, some of the stuff that's came on before, like the New Kids on the Block, and there's some content that I hear at the end of the show, like talking about big dicks and stuff like that, and it's just like, wait, why can wrestling just be so PG and so forth? So it's kind of, I've been saying I want to see TNA get a little more adult oriented, and we see EC3 come out and he calls Mike Bennett a piece of shit. This kind of attitude era stuff. It's stuff that, like, good job, TNA. Like, push that envelope a little bit. I think that's something that they need to do. They need to get a buzz. They need to separate themselves to stand out. And I like it a lot. The other thing I just want to point out, because I remember at one point I kind of got made fun of, because there was this one time on Twitter that there was a Billy Corgan conversation, and the RAV, I should say, can't even spell my own name right, was kind of talking about how I was taking anytime I would end a sentence, I would tie a Smashing Pumpkins song title into there, and I got made fun of for it. But Billy Corgan, in case anyone didn't catch it, he said at the end of it, he said, "We'll do it tonight, boom." Good job, Billy Corgan. For those of you who don't know, Tonight, great Smashing Pumpkins song. I actually, a 12-year-old Raven Effect, used to have the poster of that music video on my wall.
Wow, I'm impressed.
7 degrees of Kevin Bacon right there.
Wow. Did you have the tie and the suit?
He didn't. I don't know that he dressed that way. And if you've seen that music video, that is a bizarre music video. I think I think people are literally playing the guitar, sitting on the moon, and I don't know what the drummer that died of the heroin overdose was doing in there, but probably something they didn't want to have on the music video. But Billy was not rocking the tie and the suit then, and no, I do not own those clothing.
And he's still not rocking the tie and the suit. Dude looks like he dresses at Goodwill, man.
I think Numero may have some of this. I think, wasn't Numero that said Billy Corgan dresses great, and that he loves the way he dresses, especially the sneakers with the tuxedo pants.
We're talking about the guy that wears the spud suits, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I love Numero, but when it comes to suits, I don't know.
I'd wear that spud suit around. That thing's badass. I got your back, Numero. I'm only joking about. Numero hates the shoes with the sneakers with the pants. Everyone, it's a joke. Lighten up, motherfuckers! It's a HeelCast.
So after this, we got an actual match. We got Sienna versus Gail Kim, which was pretty cool. I look at this match and I just thought it was nice to see a Knockouts title match, right? We kind of missed it last week. We had the whole everybody's title was supposed to be up for change for grabs, and they missed the Knockouts. So we get Sienna. She's going to go over after interference. There's no surprise here. Gail's going to look strong. She's getting ready to go into the Hall of Fame. At the same point in time, they can't just put the belt back around her. So Sienna's going to go over. Lots of interference. Thought this was a great way to get Jade and Marty some time. I will tell you this much. I think Allie needs a new set of vocal cords. I mean, all I'm saying is that, girl, you must be an absolute mess to deal with on a day-to-day basis. That's some high-pitched shit, dude.
I loved it. I'll be honest, that was the thing that impressed me the most. Was Allie's promo was great, and I'm not. We heard from someone. We read the spoilers, and it's kind of this. Why are they doing this with Allie? Why are they doing this with Cherry Bomb? We'll just say we heard from someone who was there that said no, don't judge it. This stuff was great. Don't always read into what you see in the spoilers. Just wait till you see it. And I think I'm so impressed. I thought that promo that she did was fantastic. And you talk about the spoilers. I don't remember seeing Sienna versus Gail on the spoilers, so I was surprised about this. But so here's the things that irked me a little bit though, dude, is that one of those short matches, which is becoming the norm on Impact, which is why I said let the matches develop, so we can actually see that the TNA roster is that good, because the match length on TNA is just so bad anymore. But this was super short. The interference, but the main thing that I have now is why this match. I mean, just what are your plans for this belt at Bound for Glory? I mean, are we gonna see Sienna against Gail Kim multiple times and then do another rematch? I mean, save something. I don't know what the plans are, and that's fine if that's not what you're going with, but build to something. Sienna and Gail Kim, in my opinion, Sienna is just destroying it. She is kicking ass. She is fantastic. I love everything about her in this role, in this character. I am glad she won the belt so soon. But what are you doing? You've got to build to something.
Well, I think they are building to something. I think that they're building to Gail and Maria. I think that's what they want to put together. And I think that Sienna will get somebody else. You don't know whether it'll be Jade. You don't know whether it could be a turn with Allie, who, by the way, she did give a great promo. And that's her character, is to act like that. So, as a performer, I think Allie's off the charts. I really, really do. I just wish that, they would let her do it with a slightly less nasal voice, because I don't see that as something that she can sustain for years on end, right? I think that people will get tired of it, and at some point just going to have to lose it. And then it's going to be like, wait a minute, this is totally different. I think if they gave her a more normal voice, they could put her in the ring at some point and show, oh my goodness, this girl can actually wrestle. But they are building to something. I'm not sure that the Knockouts title belt is the main focus of that division. I think it just gets Gail and Maria.
Yeah, it probably is, and it's good that it is. I mean, keep building Gail versus Maria up. Because that thing, it's going to explode. And if the first match between those two happens at Bound for Glory, that much better.
So after this, we get the fact of life with Eli Drake, and he finally gets a guest that gets me excited. He gets James Storm, Raven.
Yeah, that made me happy. Very happy. Finally, like at least there's something for James Storm.
So what do you think? I mean, because I thought this was an outstanding exchange. You know, I just was like, okay, so what's Storm doing in this role? You know, hashtag Storm for champ for a reason. You know, I thought it was the surprising part of this was that Eli Drake was somehow getting dummy yeah over with the crowd. Dummy, yeah. I say dummy, you say, and they were actually saying yeah. How is this going over with the crowd when, frankly, Raven, it's annoying the living hell out of me.
I don't know, man. I love it. Like, I think the facts of life has gotten so much better. I legitimately think it has improved so much since the first time he's done it. I think he's just really owning it, and I think the dummy yeah is catching on. At least for TNA fans, it is. I talked about, I 2 years ago, I would always say, like, you Bully Ray has taken something about tables and he's made it good. Eli Drake took fucking mashed potatoes. Like, how long did this dude need to go on about mashed potatoes? But it worked. It's Eli Drake. The guy makes it work because he's that good. But yeah, the Drake family mashed potatoes. I would love to go to his house for dinner with him and his pops. They would probably be like, "Get the fuck away! We're calling the police." But I want to go there. It's a good. I'm not. Who's gonna complain about Storm and Drake? The only complaint would be I would rather see Storm and Lashley for the belts, but at least there's some plans for James Storm. It's not the belt I want Storm to get a hold of. That I think the James Storm's facts of life drinking game every time that the dummy yeah button gets hit. I think you may get more fucked up during the James Storm drinking game for the Eli Drake show than Aiden O'Shea's drinking game he created for the X Division title match. But I'm just the last time that was the most predictable last call ever. How the fuck do you put that on the air? And like, this is the biggest problem I have with wrestling. There's no way that Eli Drake does not hear the claps, cannot tell James Storm is right there. Like, you had to have seen that last call coming from a mile away. It was just, it's just, come on, TNA, we're better than this. The audience is smarter than this.
Well, I think the whole idea is Eli Drake gets his ass kicked, right? Because he's sort of that irritating heel that everybody wants to, just kill. And James Storm is the perfect face to kick his ass, and you knew that sorry about your damn luck was going to actually end the thing. So, yeah, it was very predictable, but it was also what we wanted to see, too, right? I mean, that's what the fans actually wanted to see. And Eli Drake, let's face it, he gives you what you want to see. Just that dummy yeah thing is the most irritating, annoying thing ever. It's getting over, so Raven, maybe it's just me, but if they stop doing dummy yeah tomorrow, you know what? I would go out and I would buy Eli Drake a beer. I would have no problem at all with that.
Really? Because I don't know. I think if you do not like that segment, like if you don't enjoy what he's doing, then you're a dummy. Yeah.
Well, this dummy says, yeah, I'm enjoying the heck out of the segment, but I think I would enjoy it a lot more if he just cut that irritating or used it less instead of hitting the button and hitting the button and hitting the button and hitting the button. But speaking of hitting buttons, we did get a confrontation between Drew Galloway and Mike Bennett, where Mike Bennett is definitely trying to push as many of Drew Galloway's buttons as he can. He's telling Drew that Drew needs to be mad at EC3 for interjecting himself into the title match. So, Raven, I look at this, and this is yet another build toward that sort of four-way top card draw for TNA. Really sets them up with main events and co-main events for quite a few weeks to come.
Dummy. Yeah. Let's say this at the start of every time I talk now. Shouldn't have told me that, dude. I think it's not only that. I think it's absolutely setting up for Drew Galloway to turn heel. I think we're gonna see Galloway and EC3 be the next kind of big main focused feud, which I think would be awesome to open the door for James Storm to come in and challenge Lashley. Hint, hint to anyone who's listening. But yeah, I think it was good. I mean, like I think we kind of forget that Bennett and Galloway, there was a history, there was a feud, and that was the feud that was going on before, Mike Bennett and EC3 blew the doors off of the entire company. So it's good to see that go on there, and I like that they don't go away from it. They're definitely pushing to the four of them, which is the right four to do, to be honest, as much as I want to say James Storm. These are the biggest four right now. Galloway's title reign was good. It really was. Dummy, yeah.
So, we also had another interesting backstage segment between Rosemary and Bram. And, I'm sort of, sideways on this one, Raven. And the fact that I just really prefer Rosemary to be the sadistic heel character that's not necessarily using the sexuality. I feel like she can do it without using sexuality. The other ones can't necessarily do it without the sexuality. I think it gives her an edge that gives her an advantage over the rest of the division, and I thoroughly believe that TNA should be exploiting that, and I think that they can still try to work Bram into the mix, but I think if they could do it with her trying to, cast a spell over him and somehow, but not trying to be the sex symbol type. I think they're making it work. I think that she's doing a great job with what they're asking her to do. I just think that for the longevity of it, I think that it would be better if they didn't do that. They could always take and completely change her character later and do that with her at that point and then show that side. So I'm kind of sideways on this. I mean, it's definitely coming off decent on TV, but I kind of look at it and I kind of think that they could do it differently and it would lead to a better character arc.
I think that you are trying to ruin the new family that I'm about to embrace upon with Bram because you don't want me and Bram to be Eskimo brothers, to be honest with you. But no, I agree with
Dummy,
what you're saying.
Yeah.
No comment there, but I guess you're.
When you say it for some reason, I'll just say
it. I'm just not gonna go there because we love Rosemary and don't want her to torment me. And truthfully, it's backstory that's not
you. I actually do want her to torment you.
Well, then I was
like
gonna say Bram would
face.
Then fine, Bram would be smart, or Bram would be a dummy, yeah, to go and TNA Dude's date TNA Dude's sisters. All I'm saying, but I like what you're saying there, and I agree. Let's not necessarily go there the social route with Rosemary, because it's pretty much been pro wrestling's thing since Sable and Sunny and all of that got to be so big. But Rosemary's still not out there flaunting it, I guess, you know what I mean? You don't see Rosemary in a bunch of skippy stuff with the cleavage and the ass hanging out and whatnot. And yeah, it's just, I don't necessarily want them to go that route, but let's just be honest, it's fucking good. Anything she does, and I'm not just saying this, and I never have been since the start, literally anything that this girl goes out and does is fantastic. It is great stuff. And I want to see stuff happen with Bram. Bram is someone that needs that push. Bram is a star. So it's intriguing enough as it is.
And that's kind of my take on it as well. I think that, again, they can do things with her because she gives such a great range as a character that I just don't know why they don't try to push her bounds to be even more different than everybody else. She's not your average knockout. TNA, Dave Lagana, John Gaburik, Matt Conway, take advantage of it. Don't try to make her like everybody else. You can make her like everybody else later when the character wears off and it's actually time to, God forbid, disband the Decay. because everything does eventually run its course. But save that character arc for Rosemary at that particular point in time. Now, you want to talk about character arcs and arcs that just don't seem to ever end. Follow this up. We got Matt and Jeff Hardy. They're still going at it, Raven. They need one more match.
Yeah, they do. And then it will be over. So they say. How much? Never mind. How much TV time does the guy need? How much time? Matt Hardy's fucking promo again, like, got more than the entire X Division segment. Just think about this. That was a battle royal and a match. Matt Hardy just talking, saying the dumbest shit possible. It gets more time than the entire division.
Did you see Remy bouncing around though? Oh my word. Oh my word. I don't know if you were watching the live thread or paying attention to it on Asylum, but everybody's like, man, look at those things bouncing around. I can't take my eyes off them. Holy mother of God, were those jugs on moving.
I will give Matt Hardy like all the credit and props in the world for that and for Lita. Like,
you know what?
I can say all the shit I want to say about the guy, but I mean,
I liked Lita. I thought Lita was an attractive girl, and she was definitely different, and that was kind of neat about her. But yeah, Remy didn't do it for me. I don't think Remy's attractive at all. I think if Remy didn't have the jugs on her, we wouldn't be talking about her. I really don't. She just doesn't work for me.
I hate watermelon, but I like those melons.
Oh, I've got nothing wrong with the melons. She's great. I'm just saying, before the melons, I would have just not paid any attention to her at all. But yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to play with her melons?
How do you not pay? Like, it's hard not to pay attention. They cover the entire arena.
They do.
They are. Never mind. No, I'm sorry. That's somebody's mother, Maxwell's. But they
jealous.
I'll look like Jim Carrey and Me, Myself, and Irene if I got the chance. I'll tell you that.
So yeah, Matt's in a wheelchair, but he gets out. He hits Jeff. We got to have one more match. It's for the Hardy name this time, folks. Folks, that's right. We're gonna have a Hardy versus Hardy for the Hardy name match again for the second time in like 2 months. It's all about the name this time. There will be a winner, I guess, this time, right?
Pretty sure there's been a winner in all the other matches, but I mean, there
was the one where Jeff jumped off the steps. That was supposed to be for the name too, right? But they both kind of passed out. So the names thing just sort of got dropped, I guess, so they could do it again next. So they're gonna have a final collision, folks. This is it. If you want to see the Hardys wrestle one last time, you need to tune in to Impact on Pop at 9 o'clock this Tuesday, because we will never, and I mean never, ever see them wrestle again. I know so, because Matt Hardy told me.
Let's not skip this. This final collision is in Cameron, North Carolina. I don't know if anyone else sees or knows or has sort of a feeling where this is going, but remember that god-awful segment that got so much credit with the fake baby and the coffee table? They're doing a whole fucking match. A whole match, which I assume is going to be like the same place in that same ring. I don't know who's going to be the referee. Maybe it's going to be Maxwell. Maybe it's going to be the left one. Maybe it's going to be the right one. I don't know. It's going to
be Gardner. This is Gardner, man.
Yeah, it's what is it, Benjamin? I know it's either Shelton or Benjamin, because I remember Shelton Benjamin actually having some sort of response to Matt Hardy when he called it as Gardner. But I mean, I wonder if it's going to be that segment that we got, like, if that's going to be a full actual wrestling match like that, say, like, are we going to see slow motion and stuff like that? It's just, I have so much reservation and so much that I fear about what this is actually going to come out and look like on TV. But then again, like, it got everyone and their mom talking about it. And the best part about this is that this match, the result, all of this, like, it's not in the spoilers. No one actually knows what happens. I mean, yes, some people do, but no one outside of the company knows what happens.
Well, I know what happens, Raven. I'm going to tell you right now. Jeff Hardy, right, he's going to break his collarbone when he's jumping the ring in his motorcycle, and Remy distracts him by throwing Maxwell at him. You heard it here, folks. Here first on the HeelCast. Jeff Hardy dislocates his shoulder, guaranteed.
Oh, that's fantastic. Bound for Glory is going to be great.
Absolutely.
Star power galore.
They'll finish the match at Bound for Glory. In their final collision.
I gotta ask this.
For the Hardy's name.
Who does Matt feud with next? Like, where does this go from here? Can you tell me, like, if you're creative, where do you spawn Matt off next? Tyrus? I
think he needs to do time with Sharon Grado. That's what I think.
My God, like, where the fuck do they take this? Like, where do they take this character, and who do they move him on to feud with? I don't know what happens. And if Jeff loses, like, I'm sorry, I don't like Willow. I don't want to see Willow all the time. I don't want to see Willow ever again, to be honest with you. I know that's not necessarily that popular, but I don't want Willow. I don't fucking want Jeff Willow Hardy. I don't want to see EC3 versus Willow headlining Bound for Glory. I want Jeff Hardy versus Willow headlining it.
They could now, okay, put him in a mixed tag, right, feud with the returning Davey and Angelina.
That wouldn't be too bad.
That wouldn't be too bad.
Angelina's not here anymore, though. We know that, but
well, she's not there because of the baby, but she could easily be resigned, to come back in. She's just not going to wrestle anyway, so there's no point in keeping her on the roster. And that's pretty much all that was about.
She did work in Indy, not either this past week or the week before.
She's been doing signings and everything too. The other thing is that they could send him out for a feud with Matt Taven, right? And quite frankly, him versus Mike Bennett would be something that people might be interested in seeing, although they're both kind of heels, so that may not go over as well. So there are definitely options for him. Another option is that they could put him in a wheelchair for about 6 months and give us a break. They could do that as well.
That sounds fantastic. The Kingdom thing, if we're not just going to get him off the screen or put him in a wheelchair, how about we put him in a wheelchair and he's one of those people in a wheelchair that can't speak? Probably shouldn't have said that. But I mean, the Kingdom, the Matt Hardy and Mike Bennett together, like that's kind of what I wanted to happen from the beginning. And, you mentioned Matt Taven, and I'm sorry, I've got to go here real fast. Matt Taven is, he has that connection to Mike Bennett. Matt Taven is rumored to have his contract, like, October area. Guys, I watched Ring of Honor's pay-per-view this past Friday night, and I've always been really big on Matt Taven. I've always been big on this guy, but my God, this guy on commentary was absolutely killing it. He was hilarious. He was great. He has more charisma than I ever expected that he had, and I am big on this guy, and I swear to God, TNA has got to get him. TNA has got to get this guy in. He can do everything that Bennett is doing. I swear to God, mark my words, Matt Taven can be just as good, if not better, as a character, and everything from Mike Bennett. This is a home run.
Well, and what Matt Taven brings is he brings X Division, right? And we actually did see the X Division this week. We had a Battle Royal. Now, if you blinked, you missed it, because this was the fastest Battle Royal ever. In fact, Raven, did you know that Rockstar Spud was actually in that match? Did you know that?
Here's the thing. I know it because literally I have the replay of Impact on as we speak, because I didn't get that much of a chance to really pay attention to it. And before I talked about Matt Taven, I literally watched Rockstar Spud hit the floor.
Yeah, exactly. He hit the floor about the bell rang and Rockstar Spud was on the floor. And a bunch of other guys didn't last that long either. I didn't get this. I mean, how do you do an X Division Battle Royal? What's the purpose of the X Division? To show off athleticism. Nobody's going to do a newsflash for you folks. Nobody's going to go high-risk maneuver when if you fall and land on the outside, you're done. Not happening. This is not the proper way to do this. And furthermore, you've got Braxton Sutter. And I'm sorry, but we talked about Allie before, and everybody knows that they're married in real life. This is not a surprise. And Allie, very professional. I complained about the nasal voice, and that's forced because that's what she's supposed to be doing. Very professional. Comes off as though, she is completely television ready. Braxton Sutter, he's just as I'm hoping this is what the character's supposed to be doing, but Raven, this guy this is an indie wrestler. Am I right or not?
No, he is. I won't tell you he's not one of the names that I said I'd like TNA to bring in, but I've never also said that I thought he was a top-notch talent and a must-get. It's someone that had been flirting with TNA and back and forth. He's been very generic and vanilla, and it's like Chris Melendez. It's actually talented so far, in my opinion. It's kind of what it came off as.
That's exactly what it is. He's just all of his mannerisms are like, look, if TNA is telling him to act like this, then forget firing whoever's telling him this. Just shoot him. It does not make for good television. And give the guy some form of an edge, something for us to get behind. Turn him heel, for crying out loud. Everybody is absolutely screaming to turn him heel. But alas, he wins. And then he gets squashed by Mike Bennett. And I get it. They want Mike Bennett to continue his push. And I love Mike Bennett. I couldn't be higher on Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett has literally not done anything in the past 6 months of being in TNA that I have even thought was average or mediocre or maybe even a little above average. He's just been completely outstanding. So please, folks, I am all for Mike Bennett to be pushed. But why are they pushing him at the expense of the X Division? Why not just throw him in with the big three and push him that way?
Yeah, clearly, the Mike Bennett with the X Division championship, it bothers me. There's two takeaways that I have. And as much as this Mike Bennett X Division title reign and him having the belt and whatever is happening in the future bothers me, I'm going to say this on commentary. He was fucking awesome. He was hilarious last night. Hilarious. And I don't know, I would have sidetracked you here. I don't know if anyone also saw when they did the zoom in with the Pope playing with Maria's hair and then pulling his head back to stare at her ass. And it was funny. Good job, Pope. But Mike Bennett was great on commentary. And I think, like, as mad as I wanted to be, like, he was so funny and good at what he was doing. And I like the fact that he's saying, I'm the greatest X Division champion of all time. And then he's like, I was trained. I think he said he was trained Lucha Libre or something, but he was talking about how he was trained for the X Division style by Ultimo, Flippy Flop or Flip Flop or something. And it was like the guy cracked me up. And Maria says, Mike Bennett was stretching out and whatnot, and Josh Matthews says, 1986 wants his color commentator back. No, motherfucker, 2016 wants 1986's commentator back. Because Bobby Heenan was great. He was the best that ever did it. That was this kind of stuff Bobby Heenan would joke around. Oh, and Bobby Heenan made stuff sound important and funny. So I love what Maria said. I loved the whole Mike Bennett was stretching thing. But this is what bothers me. Is Mike Bennett versus Braxton Sutter. Like, say what you want about the Abyss X Division Championship reign, because I hated it myself. But this was the first X Division Championship match that I can recall or ever see where literally nobody X Division style was in the actual match. And that is what bothered me. I understand it was a squash. I understand the way that they did it. Braxton Sutter is not X Division. Mike Bennett is not X Division. People are going to say, oh, well, Braxton Sutter at Pepper Parks came out and wrestled Trevor Lee on One Night Only Live. I don't care. Trevor Lee was not the X Division champion, nor was it billed as an X Division match. Braxton Sutter, nothing about the guy is X Division, and that's what bothered me the most about that match and him winning the Battle Royal.
Yeah, me too. He was not an X Division guy, and all reports on him are that he's not an X Division guy, and that's fine. He doesn't have to be an X Division guy, but what you're doing is you're trying to fit the square peg into a round hole, and it's not fitting. And then he just gets squashed by Bennett anyway, so it's like, whatever. Now, speaking of squashing, right, we get to the six-man tag, and apparently now Tyrus is some sort of low card badass or something. I mean, he's got like what one win now. This is his first win, right? I never seen the guy
Since
win.
Bound for Glory.
I mean, yeah. Oh, that's right. He did win that match at Bound for Glory to get the #1 contendership, right?
And he pinned Anderson. Like, of all people, he pins fucking Ken Anderson clean. But sorry, go ahead. It just blows my mind.
Now he's a hired gun. He's gonna beat people up. He's a hired gun, and I'm gonna tell you something, Raven, and maybe you're just gonna disagree with me, and that's just fine. But why do I feel like I need to mute my TV when I'm watching these segments? Seriously, already look, TNA, lose the friggin' whistle. Whoever thought that up, okay, they need to go the way of the person who is booking Matt and Jeff Hardy, okay, because it is just god awful. Where's Major Hochstetter when you need him anyway, right? Just shoot him already. Major Hochstetter would take care of this whole damn thing. And of course, Tyrus picks up the win. Why? Because, well, Grado, Jobber, Shera, Jobber, Tribunal have been booked as jobbers, and you can't have the 50-year-old winning. So I guess Tyrus has to pick up the win.
Yeah, the guy who's like 4 or 5 years younger than the 50-year-old picks up the win. When the fuck did Tyrus turn face? Seriously, when? When did he become a face? And I'll tell you who came up with the whistle. I will guarantee it's Al Snow, and yeah, guarantee it. There's no one that was around Bill Alfonso and that company more than Al Snow was. Except, I don't know, maybe Bob Ryder. I don't know, but
Al Snow needs to have cheap heat written on his damn trunks. He will
or maybe
do
write it
anything,
on his forehead or a mannequin's forehead.
That's right, or his head, whatever you want to put it. All he goes after is just cheap freaking heat, whether he's trying to go against Donald Trump or just trying to say you people in the crowd suck or whatever he's saying. It's all about cheap heat. And if you're going to blow the whistle, blow it a couple times. Don't blow it the whole damn match. It drives me freaking nuts.
I think that's what it's supposed to do. Like, Bill Alfonso drove me nuts, but Fonzie was great, and he wasn't great. He just blew a fucking whistle constantly. I don't know. It's vintage ECW is why I don't hate it, but goddamn, yeah, it's annoying. Swallow the whistle. But you know where I'm going here. You gotta know where I'm going.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Grado comes out to the ring to some Madonna theme song, and as he's walking down to the ramp, what does he do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mahabali Shera has this awful.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a fucking Funkasaurus.
You're going there.
Used to exist somewhere else, and like, okay, so here's like, and I go for it's one person. It's a casual fan's perspective, but my buddy, he texts me and he says, back in I think it was like January, February, and he said, I like the fact that they make Brodus Clay like a big dumb guy who's like a badass bodyguard instead of the dumb dancing Funkasaurus. I don't know if anyone else is 100% convinced that they're going down this dancing Funkasaurus road, but that's what it screams to me, and I just do not fucking put that on TV. Do not make Tyrus dance. Do not go back. Do not come anywhere near what he used to be.
I think they're gonna push him as a mid-card bully. Actually, I think he's a hired gun, and I think that Grado and Shera are hiring him, and I think that he's going to be sort of like the serious one that slaps him around a little bit, helps him pick up some wins, so that Shera can keep buying Grado meals, and Grado doesn't have to pay him back. And I think they are going to keep him seriously, but at the same point, I mean, your fear, because that's what it is, Raven, right? It's a fear, is warranted. It really is. So let's go from the co-main event, and yes, those guys are in the co-main event slot again. Count. So I'm sure there's a comment coming about that one. But to the actual main event, right? And this was a pretty good match, and we got to get again one of those combinations of the big fours I've been referring to them. Lashley defending against Galloway and EC3. Raven, all I'm going to say is Drew Galloway has some sick-ass moves for a big dude.
He does. Galloway is great. Galloway, I don't know, what's he I've heard someone say he's 6'8". I don't know if I buy it or not, but I mean, just go watch King of the Mountain match from 2015. Like, watch the stuff that the guy does. I mean, he's awesome for a guy his size. And you know what? So is Lashley. Like, I know I've said it on the show before, so I'm not gonna go back, but I just remember back in like 2000, what was it, 2006? I mean, I was sold as shit on Lashley when he was in the WWE in the ECW thing, and he picked up the Big Show. And honestly, when I didn't know anything about MMA really, like the way Lashley is being booked now is how I was screaming for TNA to book the guy in 2009. Turns out they definitely did the smart thing there, but you know, there's another point that I'm going to come back to in this match that I really want to get out there, but you know, props to all three of these guys. I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot better anywhere, any company, period.
Well, Lashley's build online is being 6'2". I think they claim he's 6'3" on the show. I mean, maybe with the boots on, he's a little taller, right? But Galloway's still quite a bit taller than him. So, I don't know, 6'8" sounds pretty tall, but 6'6", even 6'7" does not seem unreasonable.
Yeah,
I mean, just when you compare him to other guys, I mean, he is a big guy. And it's funny because when you look at EC3, he did a dive too. But let's face it, when EC3 goes off the top rope, he looks kind of clunky. It looks like I was jumping off the top rope. You know, actually, EC3 could consider taking some lucha libre lessons from DJZ. Just throw that out there, EC3.
I want to throw this out real fast before we like actually get into some legit analysis here, but just go back to Slammiversary and like, what the fuck is happening to EC3's chest? Like, I assume like it happens from an indie event and he shows up at Slammiversary, because I know he had one like a day or two before, and he's definitely got like fingerprints or like a girl scratching his chest, like on his chest, you know, like you can see the claw prints. And then like it's been a while for these tapings now, and he's still like, I know he took some chops today, but like that dude has got to get some fucking makeup on his chest, or like something has to take away the claw marks on his chest all the time, because it is super noticeable. Granted, it looks like he may have been getting laid, so good for you, EC3. And who's that dude's swimming in ass, but I mean, still, it's just I don't know if anyone else is noticing it as much as me.
We should ask him. We should tweet out to him and say, hey, EC3, you know, who's been scratching your chest, buddy? You know what I'm saying? Because I got to say, I mean, he actually did get cut. He started to bleed from his chest. And it was like, wow. Yeah. That was pretty crazy. I will say, though, that I did kind of like the insecurity that he did. You know, that was kind of cool. And it does show that these guys really are wrestling a more X Division, you know, style match all the way through the show. And that's kind of nice, too. But again, the one match where they tried to put the X Division guys, they made it a battle royal. But I did appreciate, you know, his insecurity. I thought this was a great match. I didn't expect it to not be a great match. You know what I'm saying? The one thing I will throw out is, really, TK3? Really? I mean, really, Raven? And it wasn't even very good. That was probably the low point of that match for me, was the TK3. But any rate, Lashley can say he pinned EC3 too now. You know, the RKO TK3.
Oh, I gotcha. But so here's the thing. This is I mentioned I wanna kind of make a point. I hate EC3 getting pinned. I absolutely hate it. I'll be honest. So I'm watching this match right now as we speak, because last night I was so busy. Basically, I was falling asleep as I finally got to put this match on, and really I had the voice or the volume down pretty low. But I don't know how big they sold it, but I hate him eating the pin. TNA, the way that the company is in right now, I feel like, okay, EC3, he loses, not fair, but he loses a last man standing match. Okay. He's had some DQs, some no contest. I think he's legitimately lost more matches than he's actually won since the Matt Hardy thing happened. But okay, Bennett pins him clean. Huge deal. Now, Lashley just kind of beats him, whatever. And it's just, I mean, the streak was huge. Okay, so it took that long for it to happen once, and now it just seems like it's just not a big deal. It needs to be a huge deal. It needs to be special when it happens. It needs to be rare when it happens. Go back and look at Hulk Hogan, okay? It was huge. It was fucking huge for so many years when Hulk Hogan lost. I remember Arn Anderson, that untrustworthy son of a bitch. Arn, I'm calling you out. When Arn pinned Hogan on Nitro, it was like, what? Did that just happen? You know, you need that shock factor. The EC3 losing has to be so rare that it has to be extremely special. I don't care. At least at this point, it just it bothers me that they do it. And TNA has a history of just anytime something is really good, screwing it up. And EC3 was the one thing that they didn't screw up. And I'm just worried that it's going down that path. And you know, I mean, even look at Goldberg. You know, the guy didn't. After the streak was beat, he lost, you know, a decent amount of times, which I thought may have been a little too much. But I mean, protect EC3 a lot more than you're doing.
Well, it wasn't too long ago when Dixie said, "Yeah, it's great. We finally found our star for the next 10 years." And all they've been doing is jobbing him out all year now. And it just makes no sense. I realize, you know, this is 2016. It's not 1986 or even 1996. You can't win every match. I mean, you can't go 4 years with the world championship like what Hogan did. I mean, Hogan was WWF champion for 4 consecutive years when he went against Andre, and he still kept the belt. Okay, so, you know, you can't do that anymore. But it does need to be special. You know, you have to have your main star, and then you have to have a supporting cast. And it seems like TNA is doing too much of the supporting cast and trying to turn it into a big four. And it really needs to be EC3 with strong people around him, a strong threesome around him. He doesn't have to carry the belt every time, Raven, but he can at least be the big star, a lot like what WWE has been known to do with John Cena. There's no reason they can't try to replicate that.
No, you bring up an interesting point, and I'm not going to dispute with you at all, like a 4-year title reign and stuff. No, that can't happen. But tell me why can it not be like 86 or 96 anymore? And here's what I'm saying. It needs to be, okay? Protect the losses to make him look like the bigger star, but look at Impact's roster. Like, they are struggling. The roster is slow. It's a much talented roster, and I've ended up liking it more than I expected it to be. But they don't do that much TV. They do 1 show a week, right? Okay, you do 2 pay-per-views. You do 12, but you don't acknowledge 10. Okay, you do 2 big shows a year. So why not push it? Why not kind of spread things out? Why not use the rest of the guys to build it up? Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. It used to be like the Hulk Hogan show and everyone else. So now it's the EC3 show and everyone else. You know, he doesn't have to have the belt all the time. But look, 1986 was way more successful and way more better than 2016 overall for wrestling. It was. I'm sorry. It's just how it was. Things were better and they meant more. TNA, the only advantage TNA really has over any other company is that they only do a couple of big shows a year. So, like, build to those big shows and make these moments huge, make these events, make these matches huge. Like, I think they're literally the only company that can fucking make it look like it was 86 or 96 again. And as bad as 96 was, I would still probably take 96 over today.
Well,
at least WCW.
Well, so sadly, first of all, I loved WCW back in 1996, right? Yeah. And I loved me some WWF back in 1986. That having been said, it was a different game back then. You know, back in '86, the television was an hour a week, and it only existed to get you to go to the arena and buy a ticket to see the matches you wanted to see. So what you got in that 1 hour was you got a 2-minute promo from Hulk Hogan, who very famously said he would do these promos and he would literally wear the world championship belts out because he sweats so much on the leather. Just an interesting side note there. It's 2016. They don't do the house shows. They're not drawing anything. And you know, the big thing is the TV deal. that's where the revenue is, so you have to protect the TV deal. And to do that, you have to make sure that everybody's tuning in. Not just enough people on a Saturday morning in a given market to make sure that the seats are filled the next time that you get there. So the business of wrestling has dramatically changed. In terms of being able to get back to something like 1986 or 1996, that's kind of what I like about ROH. ROH is a bit of a throwback. You don't always see the world champion wrestling. You might get him once a month, every 3 weeks, something like that. And it literally comes out simply because they only have 1 hour of television. So to me, that's really the big difference there.
You know, one thing that it bothers me is, and I think it sucks that it left the business, and I think it is something that could really help TNA at times on TV to build to these matches, is enhancement talent, jobbers, that getting rid of them. That used to do wonders and make people look so big. And I mean, like, I understand how a lot of ways it couldn't happen today or work today, but just fuck, it would help build so many matches and keep people fresh so they're not touching each other. So when that build up comes, just the roof blows off, man. And that sucks that that's really not a possibility today. But I mean, I think like TNA, if they could bring in some enhancement talent, like what they did for Braxton, Sutter, um, stuff like that, it could really do wonders. The Warrior just coming out and fucking smashing dudes and just running in there, bashing a guy a couple times, just destroying this guy, running out of the ring, going crazy. Like, it hyped the guy up so much that when like, you want to see, okay, well, how's he gonna do when he sees like the Honky Tonk Man or like someone bigger? And it's a shame because it could really, really help the industry today, and it's sad to see that stuff just be so non-existent. And really, like, because of the Monday Night Wars, which was like the greatest time ever, shit like that just can't be done anymore. It's a shame, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really is. Now look, folks, we're halfway through the year, and next week's TNA Impact on Pop is the last from the previous set of tapings here. So I think it's a good time after next week's show to begin the half-year awards. So after next week, we're going to kick off the half-year awards and voting for Impact. So that'll give you your MVP, your knockout of the year, and tag team of the year, favorite character of the year. We'll have all of those awards up for voting after next week's show. And that, folks, leads us to the sound off. And it's about EC3 this week. What are your thoughts on EC3 eating a second pin? Is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? Are you at all concerned that his mystique is going to be damaged by losing too frequently? Sound off and let us know what you think. So, folks, on behalf of TNAsylum.net, the entire HeelCast, including that guy, Raven Effect, I'm TNA Dude saying have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Dummy, yeah.